All right, the next thing I want to show you is how to use the help files. Stata is one of the nice features of it is that it's very well documented. The syntax is very consistent across commands. So let's return to our summarize command. So we did summarize MPG. That gave us the mean, the standard deviation, and other information about miles per gallon. Well, you can type the word help and then any command, Stata command name after that, and it's going to provide the help file for that. So we say help summarize, and up will come the help file for summarize. And so what we see here is the general structure of the built-in help files. All right, so the title will tell you what command or what the command is and sort of what it does. So in the case of summarize, it gives summary statistics. Then it's going to give the syntax. Okay, so it says summarize and then var list if in wait and then comma options. So a couple things to note. One is that anything in brackets is optional. So we could just type the word summarize and Stata is going to do something. So we type summarize and look, it's going to summarize the entire data set. Not a big deal to summarize the entire data set because the auto data set's pretty small. But if you have a big data set with lots and lots of variables, this is going to get unwieldy. So in that case, it says you can submit a var list, which means variable list. And that's what we were doing when we were typing MPG. We were asking it to summarize miles per gallon. If and in, we'll discuss at a later time, but that allows you to subset your data. Weights, we're not going to deal with in this class, but it allows you to do weighting your data in different ways. And then comma options is options for your summary command. And what it shows down here below this are those options. Okay, so the first one it says is detail. So if we want additional, and it says it'll display additional statistics. So let's see how that option detail works. So if we type the word summarize, and then we do MPG, and then remember options occur after a comma in Stata. So we say comma, and then we say detail. And then it provides more summary information for that miles per gallon variable, giving us our percentiles and our median, the mean, the standard deviation, as well as variance and other information. You can add, remember, you can do var list, so we can do summarize MPG price detail, and it's going to provide the summary statistics in detail for mileage and for price. Going back to the help menu, you see that there are other options, and each command in Stata is going to have some options typically, and I just encourage you to play around with it a little bit and see what happens when you use those commands. Okay, a couple other things to note about the help menu. When it's underlined, see how the S and the U are underlined in summarize, the D is underlined in detail. What that means is that Stata will allow you to use shorthand to call that command. So instead of typing the whole word summarize, you can just type the word or the letters SU and then do MPG and you'll get the summary. Or you can type SU MPG price and you'll get the summary for each of them. We can also do just D for detail. So we could do SU MPG D and it's going to give us those details. That's just useful if you're wanting to move quickly. I usually don't use the shorthand things because I find it easier to read and remember what I did if I use the full command name. All right, one last thing about the help file. You'll see that up here, it's going to be this thing is going to be highlighted in blue. And the nice thing about Stata is this built-in help like this is usually brief. It provides all the essential information for what the command does, definitions and explanation of what the options are. It'll give you some examples of how you use the syntax and some other information that we'll talk about another time. So it's really nice, and I use it a ton. Sometimes you want even more information, and Stata used to sell just these huge library of printed books with additional information about each of the commands. They've now made all those books just available with PDF, and it's built in. And so if you want the PDF help, you just click on Summarize here. And it's going to open up a PDF document. with that information in it. And it just provides additional data or additional information about these commands, as well as anything else you want to be able to do in Stata. So those are built in and available on any installation of Stata. All right, the last thing I want to show you is perhaps one of the most important to me as a user of Stata, and as for you as a student getting started in using Stata, and that's the do file editor. So one of the really important things in statistical analysis is to be able to replicate what you've done. And it's great to do what we've been doing, which is like type in summarize MPG and see what happens, or get our histogram, and then manipulate these things manually and make them look better. But the problem is if you step away from it for a week or for a month because it's Christmas and you don't want to work on your analysis, but that you come back for your dissertation and you forget what you've done. Well, the nice thing is you can use a do file editor. What the do file editor is going to do is it's going to let you basically create a text file with all the commands that you need. So you can read in the data, do something with it, save out graphs, save out output, and those sorts of things. And that'll allow you to easily replicate what you've done, especially when you're manipulating data, managing your data, cleaning up your data from what you've collected. It's really nice to have the do file made and updated and documented. Okay, so let me just show you briefly how this works. So what you can do is you can type commands right here in this do file. So we say summarize MPG, and what you're going to do is, remember we did that in the command window, we hit enter and it ran it. So what you do with the do file is you select it and then you hit do, and it's going to run what you have here in the output window. Okay, so it allows you to create a list of things. So if you have a lot you want to do, so you want to summarize price, and then we want a histogram of MPG, and we want a histogram of price. So we can select all those things at once and hit do, and it's going to run through each of those analyses for us. So you can use do files to keep a good record of what you've done and be able to replicate your analysis, and it's really important. I'm going to have a lot more to say about do files throughout the semester. So this has been sort of a whirlwind tour of the interface and some of the basic capabilities of Stata. We'll see a lot more of this in class, and we'll discuss these concepts more and more as we get more into it. I think you'll find that Stata is pretty intuitive once you get the basics down. It's pretty consistent from command to command, and so I think you'll enjoy using it. And even if you don't use Stata long term, I think you'll find that what you learn from Stata and how to use it will help you work in other stat packages like SPSS, SAS, R, whatever you're using.